What if I told you that the heart of a major world philosophy wasn't about faith or believing in something you can't see? What if it was really about a practical, step-by-step system for tackling one of life's biggest, most universal problems, suffering? Well, that's exactly the lens we're going to use to look at Buddhist teachings today.
So let's ask that question directly. If you strip away all the cultural stuff, all the rituals, all the things that have built up over centuries, what are you left with? What is the actual engine driving this whole thing? It's something surprisingly simple and yet incredibly profound.
And here's the answer. It's unbelievably direct. At its absolute core, this entire system is focused on just two things. First, looking square in the face at the reality that suffering is a real, unavoidable part of life. And second, that there is a clear, practical path to bring that suffering to an end. It's a diagnosis and it's a prescription.
To really get a sense of the urgency here, you have to understand the stakes. Just look at these numbers from Thailand in 2024. For every single human born, you've got billions of other beings, like chickens and shrimp, that are consumed. This just puts into stark relief how unbelievably rare and precious a human life is. In this worldview, being human is your one golden opportunity to understand and break the cycle of suffering. And the odds of you getting this chance again are, well, they're just astronomically small.
Okay, so if suffering is the universal problem, what's the culprit? What's the single root cause that all of this points back to? Well, the teachings are very clear on this. It all comes down to a very specific kind of ignorance. In the original language, it's a word called avidya.
Now, when we say ignorance, we're not talking about, not knowing a fact for a quiz show. This is way deeper. It's a fundamental misperception of reality itself. It's the core, gut-level belief that this constantly shifting, changing stream of thoughts and feelings and body sensations is a solid, permanent me. And because we think there's a permanent me in here that needs protecting, we cling, we crave, we push things away, and when things inevitably change, which they always do, we suffer.
Here's a really powerful way to think about where this deep-seated ignorance actually lives. Imagine your mind as a computer. Your conscious mind, the part you're aware of right now, listening to this, that's just the screen. It's what's happening right now, but its data is temporary. But the subconscious mind, oh, that's the hard drive. It has immense power, maybe 20 times stronger. It stores everything, and it carries that data forward. And that is the hiding place of avidya. It runs the show from the background, driving our reactions before we even have a chance to think.
So, if the root of the problem, this corrupted file, is buried that deep in the subconscious hard drive, how in the world do you even access it to fix it? Well, the answer is a very specific type of mental training. It's a meditation practice called vipassana, which can be broken down into 5 clear steps.
And listen, this isn't presented as just one option among many. The Buddha himself described this practice of mindfulness, which is the absolute foundation of vipassana, as the one and only path to freedom. So this isn't just about chilling out or relaxation. It's described as a direct, precision tool for performing surgery on the mind.
So here's how the actual method works. It builds on itself, stage by stage. First, in step 1, you just anchor your mind, your focus, on the simple sensation of your breath. Then, in step 2, when a sound or a sight pulls your attention away, you just gently note it, hearing, and you come right back to the breath. Easy enough. Now, step 3 is where the real investigation begins. You start to scan your body, just observing physical sensations without reacting, without judging. This is where those subconscious patterns start to bubble up to the surface. Step 4, you do the exact same thing, but for mental distractions. A thought of desire, a flash of anger, you just note it and come back. And finally, in step 5, you begin to see the very building blocks of your experience, body, feelings, thoughts, just rising and falling all on their own. The big takeaway here is that you're not trying to empty your mind. You're conducting an active, scientific investigation of it. Now that 5th step, observing the aggregates, that's really the heart of the whole investigation. So what in the world are these aggregates? Simply put, they are the 5 components that our mind bundles together and mistakenly labels as a solid, permanent self. And here they are. These are the 5 aggregates. You've got form, which is just your physical body. You've got feelings, which are always just one of 3 things: pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Then there's perception, the part of the mind that recognizes and labels stuff. After that comes mental formations, which is a big bucket for all your thoughts, intentions, and reactions. And finally, you have consciousness, which is just the basic awareness of the other 4. These 5 processes working together are the entirety of what we call our experience.
The fundamental error we make is assuming there's some kind of permanent CEO behind the scenes controlling it all.
And that last one, consciousness, it isn't some steady, solid thing. The best way to think of it is like a spotlight, just flickering and jumping between the other components. Now it's on a sound, now it's on a thought, now it's on a feeling in your foot at an absolutely incredible speed. When you start to actually see this happening in your own experience through meditation, the whole illusion of a single stable observer just starts to dissolve.
So why do all this? Why go through this whole process of deep investigation? What's the end game? Well, where this path ultimately leads is to breaking the cycle of suffering, once and for all.
This whole thing maps perfectly onto the famous Four Noble Truths, which you can think of like a doctor's diagnosis and prescription plan. You've got the truth of suffering, the illness, and your task is to fully understand it. You've got the cause of suffering, the virus. Your task is to abandon it. Then there's the cessation of suffering, the cure. Your task is to realize it for yourself. And finally, the path to get there, the medicine. Your task is to develop it. See? Every truth has a specific job for you to do.
And what's really cool is you can actually track your progress on this path by the breaking of what are called the 10 fetters. Think of them as mental chains that keep us locked in this cycle of suffering. As wisdom grows through the practice, these chains are literally severed, one by one. And hey, notice what the very first one to go is? Belief in a self. The root of the entire problem is the first thing to be uprooted.
Ultimately, this whole journey comes down to a chain of insight, which is laid out so clearly in the teachings. Through your own direct observation, you start to see anything that's constantly changing is, in the end, unreliable and a source of stress or suffering. Then you see that this unstable, suffering thing can't possibly be a real, controllable self. And finally, you realize that if it's not a self, then there's no way it can truly be me or mine. It's this direct seeing, not just believing it, but seeing it, that cuts ignorance at its very root.
And so we're left with this question, aren't we? The entire system we've just walked through suggests that our mind, through its own deep-seated misperceptions, literally creates its own prison of suffering. But that very same mind also holds the master key to its own liberation. And the choice of which one it becomes, well, that comes down to practice.